You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It is episode 73 of season 3. Rizzo returns to Wrigley. Don't forget to listen, download, review, most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow on the socials. Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, and Fly the W on Facebook. You can also email Crawly and I at flythew670@gmail.com. All right, Crawly. Didn't exactly go great. There was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of pomp and circumstance. But at the end of the day, the Cubs did avoid the sweep. But cool to see Anthony Rizzo back. Everything about it was cool other than the result on the scoreboard.
And I honestly think, you kind of expected the Cubs would lose 2 out of 3. They're a superior team. The Yankees are. It's just unbelievable how much talent they have on that team. When you sit there and you start looking down that lineup and you're going like, my God, this is something else. But yeah, it was a lot of pomp and circumstances you talked about. When we talk about Rizzo, it was kind of cool because there's other guys too, but seeing Rizzo and Hap, and if you're watching on 670 The Score, I got some pictures up there. Rizzo and Hap taking a hug at the batting cages. That really meant a lot for Ian. Him and Rizzo were very close. How about this? Marcus Stroman with a couple of his old teammates like Justin Steele, etc. So
yeah.
Stroman back, and then Mark Leiter,
cleanly shaven Mark Leiter, right?
I still think it's weird.
Yeah.
But this is what Rizzo had to say. Before I left, we turned the franchise from lovable losers to expected winners. 5 playoff appearances, 3 NL Central Division titles, 2 NLCS appearances, 1 World Series championship where he caught the final out. Dustin, I thought this was interesting. Marquis put this up. Anthony Rizzo was the last active member of the 2016 Cubs to come back to Wrigley Field. There will be no more. That will be no more videos, no more.
Well, unless somehow, some way, Kyle Hendricks ends up somewhere, right?
That's a possibility. Right now,
anything's possible. But yes, of the people that have left and come back, this would be the last one.
Right. You got Fowler, you got Schwarber, you got KB, you got Lester, you have Contreras, Hayward. Just all Javi Baez was just recent, and then Rizzo in New York. So, like you said, the results weren't what we were hoping for. Just the Cubs scored 2 runs the entire weekend.
3 games, 2 runs.
That's not going to do it, especially. So I will say this. The wind was howling in Friday and Saturday. I will say
What does that mean? This team doesn't slug. Again, this team doesn't slug. What does that matter?
I would say you're playing a good team. The wind's blowing in. It is a team that has been slugging as of late. So I think that, when you come down to it, New York has a lot more ways to score than the Cubs do, I would say.
Right. Well, again, they have not 1 Crawly, but 2 superstars in the middle of their lineup. Yeah, I'm just asking the Cubs to get 1 superstar in the middle of the lineup, let alone 2. And maybe, just maybe, Crawly, I might be, pulling one of my crazy ideas. But there were some interesting photos of like Juan Soto looking out from behind at Wrigley Field and almost like taking it all in. And I just wonder if like that weekend could have been like a recruiting tool if the Cubs decide to get in on Juan Soto.
So there was somebody that talked to me on the podcast. We had an interview with someone, and I cannot remember for the life of me who it was. So I don't want to take a guess. But he said, yeah, I would trade for Juan Soto. I'd trade 3 of my top best prospects, get him in here, let him experience Wrigley, and hopefully that gives you the edge. That's how special of a player Juan Soto is. In the first game since the Cubs combined no-hitter, though, the Cubs were nearly no-hit on Friday. Jordan Wicks took the mound and had to deal with a lot of traffic. Top of the first, Gleyber Torres singles. Juan Soto struck out. Aaron Judge walked. Austin Wells struck out. Giancarlo Santo walked to load the bases. Luckily, Chaz Chisholm grounded out to end the threat. Top of the second. So that worked out perfectly because top of the second, Anthony Rizzo steps into the batter's box. So he gets to start the inning, right? The Cubs DJ plays Intoxicated, his old song by Martin Solveig. And the crowd gave Rizzo a great standing ovation. I will tell you this, Dustin. I feel like Rizzo kind of, he got in the box kind of quick, in my opinion. That was him. The crowd was willing to cheer him as long as he stayed out of the box. I thought it was a great ovation. And obviously, I would say it was close to 65-35 Yankees fans to Cub fans.
Really?
Yeah, it was a mass. To me, everywhere I looked, there were New York fans everywhere. Probably out of all the visiting teams that I've seen come to Wrigley this season, the Yankees by far well represented out there. So that's just my take on that. Jordan Wicks would get him to ground out, have an easy 1-2-3 inning, not so easy in the third. Gleyber Torres walked, Juan Soto singled, and then Aaron Judge, who was on the cold list, doubled to put the Yankees up 1-0. Austin Wells singled to score Soto and Judge to extend the New York's lead to 3-0. Wicks would pitch 5 innings, give up 3 runs on 5 hits, 4 walks, and 4 Ks. Keegan Thompson pitched the 7th. Sean Armstrong pitched the 8th. And Trey Winginter made his Cubs debut in the 9th. They picked him off the scrap heap after the waivers from Boston. So Luis Gil and the Yankees bullpen completely shut down the Cubs offense. Seiya drew a walk in the first. Dansby drew a walk in the second. Cubs got their first hit in the fourth with 1 out. Cody Bellinger doubled, but Isaac Paredes struck out and Nico Hoerner grounded out to end the threat. Cody Bellinger drew a walk in the 7th. Isaac Paredes struck out. Nico Hoerner grounded into a force out. Cody at second. Nico takes over at first. Nico would steal second, and Dansby would strike out to end the inning. Cody Bellinger drew a 9th inning walk with 2 outs, but Isaac Paredes grounded out. Not a great game for Paredes. Cody Bellinger was 1 for 2 with 2 walks. Everyone else did not have a hit, and only Seiya and Swanson had a walk, each of them. So the Cubs were 0 for 3 and left 5 men on base. Dustin, this was what they showed after it. Most shutout losses, MLB teams this season. White Sox 16, Cubs 14, Guardians 14, Tigers 14, Rockies 14. And the Cubs would add to that list as this weekend went on. But anytime you're in the same graphic with the White Sox, that's not a good thing.
No, that's a bad thing. Only thing you want to know about them is that they play in the same town. That's about it.
Yep. Javier Assad versus Clark Schmidt. Cubs are going to lose this one 2-0. Just like Friday, the wind was howling in. You knew there wasn't going to be a lot of runs. Yankees got on the board in the first. Gleyber Torres single. Juan Soto drew a walk. Assad threw a wild pitch to move runners to second and thirds with no outs. Aaron Judge struck out. Austin Wells would ground out to Nico, and Gleyber would score, and Juan Soto would move to third. Yankees are up 1-0. Giancarlo grounded out to end the inning. Top of the second, the first of 2 fielding errors in the day. This one on Pete Crow Armstrong, whose error allowed Rizzo to score, but the Cubs were able to leave the runner at second. The Yankees put another run on the board in the top of the 6th. Aaron Judge drew a leadoff walk. Assad struck out Austin Wells and got Stanton to fly out on a ball that would have landed on Sheffield if there was no wind. Chaz Chisholm singled, and Assad's day was done. Drew Smiley came in, and the Yankees pulled off a double steal. Christian Bethancourt threw the ball away. Judge would come around to score and extend their lead to 2-0. Assad pitched 5 2/3 innings. He only gave up 2 runs, Dustin, only 1 earned on 3 hits. So that was an error again by Bethancourt. So for the second game in a row, the Cubs offense were shut out. Ian Happ drew a walk in the first. He got the Cubs' first hit in the 3rd inning. Cody Bellinger hit a 1-out single, and then in the 4th inning, Nico's going to ground into a force out. He's going to get caught stealing on second on a great throw by Yankees catcher Austin Wells to end the inning. So Council's trying to have these guys run because they're just not having any offense. Right. Bottom of the 5th, PC8 hits a 1-out single. He gets caught stealing on another great throw by Wells. The other thing that Schmidt, he does this weird cha-cha thing before he comes set. And I don't think that PCA got a really good feel for his move, but that is the first time I've seen PCA legitimately thrown out stealing this season. He was caught once before, but that was one of those where he was kind of off the bag on a contact play and didn't get back to the bag. He wasn't actually running to the next base. This is the first time all season that he got thrown out, literally running from one base to the next.
Yeah. It's going to happen, right? But yeah, it was interesting. I saw that.
The next batter, Patrick Wisdom, tripled, but Christian Bethancourt popped out to end the threat. Seiya would draw a walk in the 6th. That was the last base runner of the day. Nestor Cortez would come in to piggyback off of Schmidt, and the Cubs just could do nothing. So the Cubs had only 1 runner in the whole game get past second base. That was on the Wisdom triple. Clark Schmidt went 4 2/3 shutout innings, gave up 1 walk on 2 Ks. Nestor Cortez piggybacked him going 4 1/3 innings and didn't give up a hit. I'm going to tell you, Dustin, I know why they did that piggybacking thing, because Clark Schmidt, that was his first start since coming off the IL. I thought we would have seen more of that stuff by the Cubs this season, where you'd have just 2 guys each go about 4 innings. I thought that they had the arms for that, or at least, have one guy go 4 innings, another guy go 3 innings, and then mess around with that. But I thought we would see more of that, exactly like the Yankees kind of drew it up. That takes us to today, game 3. Cubs actually win this one, and most of the action happens at the very beginning of the day. The win wasn't as bad this time out, but just an absolute great game thrown by Jameson Taillon. We talked about this on the last episode, Dustin, how he really jump-started his Cubs career last year in New York. And again, the Yankees had no answer for him. We're going to take a look at the bottom of the first. Ian Happ doubles on a sharp line drive to left fielder Alex Verdugo. Dansby Swanson reaches on a fielder's choice. Ian Happ is out at third. I thought that was some bad base running by Ian Happ on that one. That one is like you freeze. You don't go to third until the shortstop throws it to first. So the lead runner was thrown out on that one. Seiya Suzuki flied out. But then Cody Bellinger reached on by second base, Gleyber Torres. So Dansby goes to second and then advances on a fielding error by Torres. So the inning should be over at this point in time right now. So the Cubs catch a break. And then Mike Tauchman, what about this guy sitting on a bench, hasn't played in God knows how long. He has a nice 10-pitch walk, right? 10-pitch walk. And then Isaac Paredes, so now the Cubs have the bases loaded for Isaac Paredes. And, they gave him the day off the day before after an awful game on Friday. He hits a single and he is going to score 2 runs. And so the Cubs are up 2-0. The Yankees come right back. Chaz Chisholm Jr. doubles on a line drive. And then Anthony Rizzo singles to put runners at first and third. Anthony Volpe would hit a sac fly and it would be a 2-1 game. And then after that, there was no more runs scored. And so you saw a lot of really good defensive plays. I want to say that I could count 3 that I thought that Ian Happ made that was just phenomenal plays. So really, really a good, he played really well. And again, you're taking a look at Taillon. He went 6 innings, gave up 1 run, 6 hits, 1 walk, but 6 Ks. He was followed by Pearson, Nate Pearson. Cubs might have something in this kid. He looks really good. He went 2 innings, took out 2.
He does look good. Yep.
And that was the heart of the order. And then Porter Hodge came in. He gave up a walk, but was able to get out of the inning. And that's how it's going to end up 2-1. And take a look if you can. Top of the 8th, Ian Happ makes a highlight catch. And you can see me. You could see me in that video. My tie guy is next to me. And I have my We Got Wood shirt on. And you can see the video. My tie had the glove ready. I didn't have a glove, so I was going to let my tie make the play on that one. But, again, not much offense for the Cubs. 3 hits. They were out hit by the Yankees. They just had the big hit with runners in scoring position by Paredes.
Yeah, and it was all in the first. It was all right away. I mean,
right away. Nothing else. Yeah. Nothing else. So I would just sit there and say, like we talked about in the beginning, I just didn't feel good about the Cubs versus Yankees. I felt that the Yankees, like you said, to have 2 sluggers of the caliber that they do in Soto, in Judge. I mean, Judge just looks like a monster of a man when you just see him in person. It's so different than TV.
Right.
Like I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, my God, he is just, And
then when the thing is too, Crawly, is the starting pitching was pretty good. Like if they would have done any, yes. I mean, Wicks and Assad were decent. If the Cubs would have done just a little bit, it would have been a series at least.
Again, yeah. I mean, you only gave up 3 runs in each game that you lost. And so in that standpoint, you can't ask Wicks or Assad to do much more than that. That's not, they scored 2 off Assad. So they didn't even score 3 off Assad, 3 off Wicks, 2 on Assad. So yeah, you're thinking to yourself, you should have been able to do more. You're at home. I'm just glad they didn't get swept because that's kind of how I was. They
didn't get swept. The slim chances are still there. They're still slim, but they're still there. Still a lot of baseball. We're going to talk about, they got a daunting task. They got in an airplane. They're probably in the air right now, heading out to LA. So it's tough. They
actually drove by me on my way home when they have the Windy City limousines and the cops taking them to the airport.
Ah, nice. Okay.
But
you didn't hitch a ride, huh?
Did not hitch a ride, and I did not take a picture because I was not going to do that while I was on the road. But
it
was very cool.
2 hands on the wheel, Crawly. 2 hands on the wheel.
Yep. 10-3.
Sure. As long as there's 2 hands, I don't care where they're at. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, episode 73 of season 3. Rizzo returns to Wrigley. Feel free to give us a 5-star review. Don't forget, you can email us, flythew670@gmail.com, and you can watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page. See Crawly, we got Woods t-shirt on. Crawly, you were at those Hall of Fame ceremony, and this is the third one they've had. What was it like over at Clark and Addison earlier today?
Oh my God, Dustin, it's just so awesome when you kind of see some of this stuff. I thought I took some pictures and some videos so that our listeners could kind of get a general feel. We'll talk about it if you're listening to it, but this is a picture right here. Rick Sutcliffe talking to Fergie Jenkins, right? Like, wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I love those jackets. Pretty cool jackets.
And I took a picture of this for you. You got Tommy Hotovy talking to those two guys as well. So one of the cool things the Cubs do is they do allow a lot of the alumni to come during spring training, and they sit there and they work with a lot of the players and talk with Hotovy, talk with the pitchers. They watch the bullpen sessions. They give input. So there's just a really good relationship that is one of those things that I love. They're going to sit there and they're going to have 2 stands that are going to be out there. They have the beautiful logo, Cubs Hall of Fame logo. And for me, I feel like they've really kind of perfected this. This got it down. So they started this. The Cubs Hall of Fame is not new, but to have the ceremony, that's the new part of it. So it started with Pat Hughes and Jose Cardinal 3 seasons ago. Last year, it was Mark Grace and Sean Dunston. Grace was not in attendance. He was, I didn't see him. I know Randy Huntley was not in attendance. He's a Cubs Hall of Famer. Usually all the Cubs Hall of Famers come back. I didn't see Grace, and Huntley, I know, couldn't make it. And so that was cool. Obvious shirts. They have this really cool shirt for each of them with their numbers on it. And then you can sit there and you can see they're going to put those blue blazers on there. So the blue blazers sit on the table, and then all of a sudden, all the Hall of Famers come out here. This is Rick Sutcliffe and Sean Dunston. Ryan Sandberg was there. And for anyone, obviously we've had our concerns about his health. Dustin, I thought he looked as strong as I've seen him in a very, very long time.
Excellent.
You got there's Sandberg with Dawson, who, no offense, Dustin, I could see Dawson still being in the middle of that lineup. He's still is built like a tank. And Sean Dunston, man, he was always a favorite player of mine, back in the day in the mid 80s, early 90s. And then everyone remembers Dunston to Sandberg to Grace. But when he came out to Club 400 about a year ago, he never really was doing interviews. You know what I mean? He never really talked a lot with the press. He's always very quiet and reserved, and getting to know him from Club 400 was really kind of a phenomenal experience. It really just became a guy that I liked. And so they played this video and all the Cubs players were watching that. And then Aramis came out and he had his whole family out with them. Kerry Wood came out, the wife and kids. They get greeted by all the Hall of Famers. There's Pat Hughes and Billy Williams and Rick Sutcliffe. And so Ryan Sandberg puts the jacket on Aramis, and then Rick Sutcliffe puts it on Kerry Wood, which is really cool. And then this is probably one of my favorite moments of the weekend, is just seeing all these guys from left to right: Sandberg, Dawson, Williams, Jenkins, Wood, Dunston, and Rick Sutcliffe. So I'm sorry, and Aramis Ramirez is in there too. But just to see all those guys was just amazing. And then they get to throw a first pitch, the two of them. And so that really, really cool. And so I also took these pictures. These are, if you go to the Cubs Hall of Fame, it's under the left field bleachers. They have all the plaques up there. And so there you have Kerry Wood's plaque. And we also have Aramis Ramirez's plaque. And so before the game, got to talk to Aramis and Kerry Wood. We'll give it a listen. There is a little bit of video. Jeremiah Paparaki has, the voice of Wrigley, has to do his reads, a little bit of music in the background, but I have this so we can kind of listen to a few things they had to say.
You ever thought you'd see this day when you were just a young 21-year-old? Never in a million years did I think this would ever be a possibility to be on a list of the guys who are joining today. So it's obviously a huge honor and just humbling.
So never in 20, what he said, never in a million years did he think that he would get this honor. And Aramis, he didn't even know the Cubs had a Hall of Fame.
Reactions and thoughts on going to the Cubs Hall of Fame?
Man, I can't be more excited. I never thought about it. I don't think I even knew it was a Hall of Fame class here for the Cubs. And just excited, and it was a great surprise.
What does it mean to go in together, having played together for so long? What's it like going into the Hall of Fame together as teammates?
Oh, it couldn't have been more better for me. Me and Woody played together for 5, 6 years, 7 years here in the outside. Great guy, great teammate, great pitcher. Just a great player, and it's great. It's great to go in with Woody.
You guys played other organizations besides the Cubs. What makes the Cub fans in Wrigley Field so different and so much special?
It's everything, right? It's this town, it's the stadium, it's the fan base, it's the history, it's the pinstripes. I mean, I don't know about Randy, but my first time walking into this field, it was such a different, overwhelming feeling walking up here and seeing the field for the first time and knowing that you're going to be a part of this organization and go out on that field and compete. And then good, bad, and ugly. The fans are always here, always supportive, understand the game of baseball, respect their team, respect their players on the field, and it's just a special place. I spent a little bit of time in New York, similar field, obviously, 2 storied franchises, and I'm obviously fortunate to be able to spend 12 of my 14 years in the big leagues here in Chicago.
Dumb question, what's your favorite moment here? What about the
No, I don't know. The home run was pretty cool.
which one?
Game 7 home run was short-lived, but it was a pretty cool moment. Honestly,
Dustin, how surprised were you for his favorite moment? He didn't say the 20K game. It was the home run that he hit in Game 7 of the 23 NLCS.
Yeah, that is pretty. Because again, I mean, he probably one day at one point in his life thought that he could strike out 20 guys, right? He probably thought that. He never dreamt he would hit a home run of that magnitude at that moment.
I can tell you, I have been to Wrigley when it's been shaking, and that probably was the one that I thought I was going to buy the farm on because I'm in the upper deck. It was shaking that much when he hit that home run. So very cool moment.
Yeah, very cool.
It's a playoff experience. It's the 4. We were 3, and I snuck into one in '98, so I got 4 playoff experiences here in this uniform. And there's nothing like the atmosphere here when you get to the postseason.
How about your famous moment, favorite moment?
I say the grand slam in the playoff. Like Woody said, nothing like a playoff. But every time, I think every time we clinch for the playoff, it's exciting. It's my favorite moment.
Your last name was Steve Craig Counsell's your name. He's over here. What's it like seeing him in the
I'm happy for him. He was a great manager in Milwaukee. I know he's going to be a great manager here. And I'm looking forward to see. I haven't seen him here.
So I know, Dustin, Craig Counsell was the manager when Aramis Ramirez was coaching in Milwaukee, and now he's here. So he gave his stamp of approval on Craig Counsell. So good, high praise from Aramis Ramirez.
Aramis, what was your favorite memory from having Kerry with
Man, it's just fun to play behind Woody. Sometimes I feel like dropping my gloves, striking everybody out. There was no fun playing there when Woody was out there. Just a great pitcher, a great competitor.
So when Aramis is saying, hey, when Kerry Wood played, I just dropped my glove. He's striking everybody out.
Same for you, Kerry. Kind of what memory comes out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many games he won me defensively and offensively. Like such clutch hits late. If there was an important at bat from the 7th inning on that was going to determine a game, he was the guy we wanted to play, and it seemed like he came through every time he was on there. So I remember Jim Hinton actually coming to me in 2003 saying, "Hey, we got a chance to pick up Aramis Ramirez. What do you think?" I said, "We should probably get him yesterday." It was just honestly from then on, he's solidified third base and probably the best third baseman we had since Ron Santo. And still, you look at his numbers, I think we're going to be looking at Hall of Fame, big Hall of Fame here at some point. It's really impressive what he was able to do for as long as he did.
Couple things there, Dustin. Number one, he said that Aramis Ramirez was probably how many games he won for Kerry with clutch hits in the late innings. Do you think that when I think of clutch home run hitters, Aramis Ramirez always comes up in my mind as far as the guy that hits.
Yeah, he's up there on that list, no doubt about that. Yeah, he was. That was an awesome trade back in the day.
And the other thing he said, he was talking about the Jim Hendry trading Bobby Hill for Kenny Lofton and Aramis Ramirez. And I think people forget that the Cubs were really like a 500 team at the All-Star break. They weren't running away with this. They weren't going, wire to wire. So when I look at this and I see this, I say to myself, that has to be one of the greatest trades of all time, period. When you think about it, whether you talk about, that would go up there with Jake Arrieta and Pedro Strop for Scott Feldman, or when you go back to getting Fergie Jenkins from the Phillies, or having Ryan Sandberg as a throw-in for, Ivan DeJesus, right? I mean, there's certain trades that are huge, but for me, like when I think about in my lifetime, that to me, that and the Arrieta one are the two biggest ones I would say that I can remember. I was a little young to remember the Sandberg when he first came over in '82, but I definitely remember the other ones, and it was a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm happy for both those guys. I just wish it would have been on a different weekend, personally. And then on top of it, I know they couldn't have planned necessarily for the Rizzo thing happening in conjunction. I guess I just feel like it kind of. I mean, for somebody like you, I get it, but you are all in. But for even me, who I'm in, but I'm not like Crawly in, right? Like it's just, I think, not everyone got to appreciate it as much as they could have if it had been planned differently.
Yeah, that's a good point. And listen to
I don't think you should plan it around a Bears game. I just don't think you should plan it around a Bears game, especially not the first one of the year.
Well, this is what Aramis Ramirez had to say about Jim Hendry, because Kerry mentioned, hey, Jim Hendry came up to me and said, hey, you think I should trade for Aramis Ramirez? And Kerry said, yeah, I think you should have done it yesterday. And this is what Aramis had to say.
And I wanna thank now the old guys. I want to thank Jim Hendry. I know he's not here. I want to thank him because he brought me over from Pittsburgh. He believed in me and he trusted my ability. I want to thank him for bringing me over.
So very cool that he thanked Jim Hendry. You remember Jim Hendry was there, he was there recently, I want to say, when it was the Javi Baez game, because Javi Baez was a Jim Hendry pick. And so he was there for the Javi Baez. I was a little surprised. Dustin, they had every 2008 guy you could ever imagine that was there. I know that Derek Lee was there. I know Juan Soto, Giovanni Soto was there. How about this? Larry Rothschild was there. And so all of these guys, we're all were there to kind of, encourage, be there for their teammates.
When that trade happened in 2003, I mean, what kind of jolt did that give to the clubhouse, not knowing what kind of run you guys could go on?
Right, the jolt to the clubhouse, the jolt to the standings. Like, we immediately jumped in the first place and didn't look back. I mean, and I think Randall Simon came over, Kenny Lofton. Like, it was such a huge trade for. I mean, the state of Chicago, right? Like, we were so on the verge of trying to change the mindset of what it is to be a Cub, and we were kind of those three guys coming over, but him specifically coming over, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer, not just for that season, but for the future of the Chicago.
Can they activate you today, maybe, and do the same thing?
Yeah. Kerry, you kind of mentioned when you see the Hall of Famers that are here, you're going to put on the same logo they wear. What do those guys mean, having them around? You were a player, and now they're going to be in that position. Yeah.
So the question has to do with the older Hall of Famers that are around. And like I said, they're always around. And here's what Kerry said.
Rhino and all the guys, and Hawk, it's just being around those guys, even as a player when they would come in, we were as players involved. Now, do you think we're both going to put the jacket on and be a part of that group that's going to stand there with those guys talking to me next to you guys? It's a pretty special feeling. You get to know it. We're getting to know these guys on a different level now, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm special. I can, like my mom said, what we're looking at these guys, Hall of Famers, Hall of Famers, baseball Hall of Famers, and put up the same jacket that they're wearing right now.
What was it like, the plaque unveil and all of that? What was it like seeing your guys' plaque up there and then getting to pose for photos in front of the former teammates, family, all that kind of stuff?
It's special with the family, for sure. I know it's seeing his kids, his family there, and my kids, and nieces and nephews. It was just special to be able to have that moment with those guys and for them to be a part of that. It's a small kind of gathering down there, so all the Hall of Famers were there, and Tom said some more. It was great. And then, again, having our families and our crew there, this is what it's all about.
Special moment. My whole family was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it. We know since the convention, so you have to wait for a long time. yeah, man, we're looking forward to this day for a long time.
What's it like making the convention when they announced that you're going to go to the next Hall of Fame? Like, that surprised you guys?
That was a huge surprise. I mean, they told us, you guys up here. So they played the video and Woody looked at me like, you know about this? I'm like, no, I don't know anything about it. It was a surprise for us. It was a pleasant surprise.
And then to hear his song talking, doing the narration of it, was, then you're getting ready to go on stage. So I'm trying to fight back tears, and it was really special to see that our sons were carrying that. Basically,
so they did not know until Cubs convention that they made the Hall of Fame. And if you remember, they did it by showing a video, and it was narrated by Kerry's son and Aramis' son. It was a very cool moment. I got to ask you though, Dustin, now that class is done and thinking about 2025, who do you think would be, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is Sammy Sosa.
Right.
He is on the Cubs Hall of Fame ballot. Is there anyone else that you would possibly say that, I mean, who would you be thinking is potentially being in that next class?
I mean, Derek Lee, maybe? Is that maybe?
Derek Lee? That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think that would be if you're just asking me off the cuff, I mean, I didn't prepare for this question. Yeah, I think Derek Lee would be the guy. How about you?
I think when I look at it, obviously Carlos Zambrano had some good years with the Cubs. How about Jody Davis?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love Jody.
I mean, the only thing is like that 84 team, obviously well represented, right? Well represented in the.
Well, it's in the Cubs Hall of Fame. It's Sandberg and Sutcliffe are the two.
Yeah.
Now, to me, there are two guys, and I'll tell you, I was when we were at Cubs convention, I was shocked that it was Wood and Ramirez, because I was thinking there were two guys that were with the Cubs for a very long time, and that right before Dallas Green got there to really make the changes, and that was Jody Davis and Leon Durham. And so I thought, hey, 1984, this is going to be like beautiful symmetry. Durham, because Dernier and Sarge didn't have long careers with the Cubs. They're very loved by Cubs Nation, but they didn't have the years that Durham and especially Jody Davis had. So I thought that was the direction it might go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think there's a wrong answer. I think the Sosa thing is up for a lot of debate, and I think with the Ricketts, the Ricketts aren't going to let that happen. They don't want him in. They don't.
What we had Bruce Miles,
unless he's going to apologize, right? I mean, and again, I know we got some Sosa information to talk about at some point during this podcast, but yeah, it's tough.
Now, here's the thing. When we had Bruce Miles on here, and he was the one that first broke it, I was at a book signing of his in Schaumburg, and I tweeted it out. No one had ever heard of it before. What happens is that Bruce said Sosa was on the ballot. The ballot is put on by Ed Hardig, the Cubs historian, and Ricketts has zero say in it. It has to do with the media members, and there's a select few, including your partner, David Haw, and It has to do with Hall of Famers, the Cub Hall of Famers. Yep. So that's going to be the one that determines Sammy, and that's why Bruce thought it was such a good, you could kind of get around that apology thing is through this Cubs Hall of Fame. Now, it doesn't mean Sammy has to become an ambassador or be at every convention, but it may be. Do
the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, in the Cubs Hall of Fame, have a say about who goes in next?
Yes. So okay. What'll happen?
Guess what? Kerry Wood doesn't like Sammy Sosa. Okay, not even a little bit.
It'll be now Cubs Hall of Fame. I'm not positive about. I thought you were talking about just Hall of Fame.
No, Cubs Hall of Fame.
No, but Aramis Ramirez would negate that vote, right?
Yeah. Okay, but now it's even, right? So, yep.
We'll see. To be determined later. But
it's a fun thing to talk about, right? That's the fun about it.
And cheers to the Cubs for doing just an excellent job. They got this thing down pat now. And I encourage anyone, if they have a chance, to go and take a look at those plaques, and just two great players that we all remember very fondly.
Yeah, it is very cool. There's no doubt about that. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's episode 73 of season number 3. Rizzo returns to Wrigley. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us one of those 5-star reviews, and you can email us at flythew670@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page. All right, Crawly, despite a almost sweep at the hands of the Yankees. The standings, again, they're not too terrible, all things considered.
Could always be worse. And the Cubs actually gained a game today because the Braves lost.
Right.
If you take a look, the Cubs are 9 games. I mean, there's really no chance of all of the Central really happening, barring some major catastrophe. But,
well, I mean, listen, they're going to go out. They're going to go out and play those games, Crawly. Let's not.
I'm talking about winning
mathematically until they're not winning the division, but the
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
wild card's still in play, but division you can forget about it at this point. St. Louis
division.
10 back, Reds 13.5, and Pittsburgh 15 back. The wild card, things can happen. And remember, we talked about this before. The Braves and the Mets play a series against each other. If one team can, there's a lot of things that can happen with that. But
you want one of the teams to sweep, right?
Right.
You want one of the teams to sweep the other, right?
And whatever team sweeps, you want them to be behind the team ahead of them. So that's what has to happen, because right now you have a tie for that final playoff spot at 78 and 65. And then the Cubs are at 73 and 70 and Cardinals at 72 and 71. I really don't think the Giants, the Reds, or the Pirates really have a chance anymore.
I think when you're 8 or more out, I think you're probably much.
So it's, the Cubs and the Cardinals still have a prayer, but they better start praying harder.
Yes, indeed. All right. So that's a look at the standings. We got some roster moves, injury report. Good news on Justin Steele, I guess.
Yeah, Justin Steele's playing catch. He's traveling with the team on their West Coast trip, so maybe we'll see something. Hayden Wesneski threw one scoreless inning for the Iowa Cubs on Friday. His next outing, the plan is for him to pitch multiple innings. And then Julian Merriweather threw a bullpen session on Saturday and will be heading to Iowa. He'll have one more bullpen session if he's okay at that one. Then hopefully he'll begin a rehab assignment with those Cubs.
All right, so that's the news with him. We got Hayden Wesneski and Julian Merriweather also doing a little throwing.
Yep. So we'll see what happens there. But now we got the Dodgers coming into town.
Boy, and 9-10, right? 3 9-10 starts, Crawly. 3 9-10 starts.
Get the coffee ready. Get the coffee ready, Dustin. The Cubs.
A lot of having following that on Twitter. I'll tell you that right now.
The Dodgers are in first place in the NL West with a record of 86 and 57, and are starting to pull away from the Padres and D-backs. The Cubs faced the Dodgers in April, when the Cubs were really having a good month, and they took game 1 9-7. Dansby Swanson and Michael Busch homered in that game. They lost game 2 4-1 as Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched 5 shutout innings and Jordan Wicks took the loss. The Cubs took the rubber game of the series 8-1. So the Cubs did beat the Dodgers earlier this season, but now you got to go to Dodger Stadium. And not only are the Dodgers a better team, there's a lot of new faces since the trade deadline. They acquired Michael Kopech and Tommy Edmonds in a 3-way trade with the White Sox and Cardinals.
Kopech has been unbelievable for them.
Funny how that works, right?
Change of scenery, right? Change of scenery.
Yeah, and you got better. We'll talk about it on the tail of the tape. When you have defense as good as you have behind them, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So, I mean, not surprised. I guess, we'll see what happens. But they got Ahmad Rosario from Tampa, Jack Flaherty from the Tigers, and Kevin Kiermaier from the Blue Jays. Jason Hayward was DFA'd, so there's going to be no hat tipping or videos things. They already had the thing. No Hayward, no, right? They just took the Dodgers took 2 of 3 from Cleveland, losing game 1 3-1, but then bouncing back the next 2 games, beating the Guardians 7-2 on Saturday and 4-0 on Sunday.
All right, tail of the tape, Crawly. Tail of the tape.
Tail of the tape. You know where this is going. The Dodgers have a better batting average than the Cubs. Dodgers are 6th in baseball with a 254 average, while the Cubs are 238. They're 21st in the league. Slug, the Dodgers are 2nd in baseball, 437, while the Cubs are 20th at 389. Runners at scoring position, the Dodgers are 13th at 258, while the Cubs are 238, which is 23rd. And then starting pitcher ERA, Dodgers have the advantage there, 357. That's 5th in baseball, while the Cubs are at 372, 8th. The reliever, the Cubs actually have the advantage there. Their bullpen is better than the Dodgers at 376, which is 6th in all of baseball, while the Dodgers is 407, 16th in all of baseball. And then the Dodgers take the fielding category. They have 62 defensive run saves. It's 4th in all of baseball, while the Cubs have 14 defensive run saves, 16th in all of baseball.
Very good. All right. Well, that's, by the tail of the tape, Crawly, we understand why the records are what they are. So Monday night, Kyle Hendricks taking the ball for the Cubs.
Yep, Kyle Hendricks versus Walker Buehler. Kyle Hendricks is 3.11 with a 6.60 ERA in 25 games and 20 starts with 74 strikeouts and 107 2/3 innings pitched. Kyle struggled on August 28th versus the Pirates, giving up 6 runs in 1 2/3 innings, but then bounced back on September 3rd when he started for the injured Justin Steele and only gave up 2 runs on 5 innings with 1 walk and 5 Ks to that same Pirates team that got him the week before. Kyle started against the Dodgers on April 5th. He gave up 4 runs on 8 hits and 4 innings pitched. He's 3-3 with the 5.68 lifetime against the Dodgers in 7 starts. Kyle is 1-2 with the 7.71 ERA in Dodger Stadium. Tommy Edmonds has the most at bats, 5 for 28, followed by Freddie Freeman, who's 5 for 14, and Miguel Rojas, 2 for 12. Walker Buehler is 1 for 4 with a 5.67 ERA in 12 games, started with 45 strikeouts and 54 innings pitched. Walker has struggled with injuries this season. He started the season on the IL with right elbow surgery, activated on May 6th, but then went back on the IL on June 19th with right hip inflammation. Came off the IL for a second time August 14th. He's not going that deep into games yet, but he's also not giving up a lot of runs. On August 20th, he gave up 3 runs on 7 hits and 4 innings against the Mariners. On August 28th versus the Orioles, he pitched 4 2/3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. And in his last start on September 3rd against the Angels, he pitched 5 innings, gave up 2 runs on 5 hits. Walker's 1-2 lifetime against the Cubs with a 3.86 ERA in 6 games, 5 of those starts. Not a lot of Cubs have at bats against Walker, except for Dansby Swanson, who is 7 for 15. Walker features a 4-seam fastball, a cutter, a curveball, and a sinker.
Now, game number 2 is something that's going to have a lot of eyes on it. Really interesting pitching matchup here.
What's the over-under on the amount of Japanese media for that game?
Wow.
It's going to be something else. Shota Imanaga versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You're talking about 2 rookie Japanese pitchers. Now, Shota's a little bit older than Yoshinobu, but this is going to be the one for me that's going to be interesting. Shota is 12-3 with the 2.99 ERA in 26 games started with a 155 strikeouts and 153 in the 3rd innings pitched. As far as it goes, Shota made history in his last start. He pitched 7 innings and combined with Nate Pearson and Porter Hodge for the first Cubs no-hitter at Wrigley since 1972. Shota started 1 game against the Dodgers on April 7th, but he only went 4 innings because of a rain delay, if you remember that. So no Dodger has more than 2 at-bats against Shota. He'll be facing his fellow countryman and rookie Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is 6-2 with the 2.92 ERA in 14 starts, 84 strikeouts, and 74 innings pitched.
Wow.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto went on the 60-day IL with tricep tightness after he came out against the game early from the Royals. He'll be activated on Tuesday. So he's been on the IL for 60 days. He did face the Cubs. So I don't know if he's on a pitch count or how this is going to work, how many innings, but it'll be interesting to see. Yamamoto did face the Cubs in April, pitching 5 shutout innings and giving up 3 hits. No one has more than 3 at-bats against Yamamoto, who features a 4-seam fastball, a split finger, a curveball, and a cut.
All right, so that's something everybody's going to want to be a part of. Definitely going to have the DVR fired up for that one. And then game number 3, this will be Wednesday night, Jordan Wicks back out there for the Cubs.
Yeah, Jordan Wicks is 2-3 at the 4.03 ERA in 9 games, 8 of those starts, 36 strikeouts, and 38 innings pitched. Wicks was on the IL from June 14th to December 6th. In his first start since returning from the IL, Jordan gave up 1 run in 5 innings pitched. In his second start, which was this weekend against the Yankees, he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings. Jordan started 1 game against the Dodgers this season, pitching 4 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 runs with 7 strikeouts. No one at the Dodgers has more than 3 at-bats versus Wicks. And then Bobby Miller's a 25-year-old righty who's 2-4 with a 7.79 ERA in 11 games, started with 48 strikeouts and 49 2/3 innings. Miller went on the IL on April 13th and was activated on June 19th. He was sent to AAA on July 10th before being called back up on August 17th. On August 23rd, he gave up 3 runs in 7 innings against the Rays. On August 29th, he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings against the Orioles. And on September 4th, he gave up 7 runs on 5 hits in 5 innings. I remember being angry about this in April. Bobby Miller faced the Cubs, and he gave up 5 runs and lasted only 1 2/3 innings. So I was like, oh, come on, leave that guy in. It was only he didn't get out of the second inning. No one on the Cubs has more than 2 at-bats against Miller, who features a 4-seam fastball that averages 98, changeup, curveball, and slider.
All right, who's hot and who's not? I mean, is there even a hot list at this point when you score 2 runs in 3 games?
Dansby Swanson, 7 for 21 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs, is batting .333 for the week. Ian Happ, 7 for 23. RBIs is batting .304. And Cody Bellinger, 6 for 20 with 1 home run and 2 RBIs, batting .300 for the week. So you got 3 of your big guys that are all clicking.
Yeah, that did stuff in the series before.
Hey, you know what? A couple of the guys we're going to talk about wish they had those numbers. Seiya Suzuki's 3 for 20 in the last week. Michael Busch 1 for 17. Isaac Paredes 1 for 17, and Amaya 0 for 11. So you're talking about 4 guys that are really
ice, and they are ice cold. All right, of course, there's Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, this team, the Dodgers, they are just absolutely stacked.
Yep, you got Mookie Betts is hot, 9 for 22 with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs in the last week. Teoscar Hernandez 5 for 13, and how about Freddie Freeman 6 for his last 20, hitting .300 for the last week. They do have a couple guys that are struggling. Tommy Edmonds 5 for his last 23, Max Muncy 2 for 11, and Gavin Lux 2 for 13. But most of their everyday hitters are doing pretty good.
All right, who might the Cubs be able to get out?
Yeah, that's where you got Lux, I would say, and Muncy and Tommy Edmonds. So those are the guys that you would be able to get out.
All right, those are the guys who get out. All right, prediction time, Crawly. I think I went for it doesn't matter. They're not going to get swept. Okay, I think they win the Shota game. That's what I'm going to say. I think they win. I think they win the Shota game. Not loving the pitching matchups a whole heck of a lot, but maybe, just maybe, the Dodgers are just not interested, right? Because they're kind of on cruise control right now. They'll be in the postseason. The only thing you can hope for, some little distraction, right? Or the Cubs are just happy to get out of Wrigley, where they just struggled again in the last 3 games against the Dodgers. So maybe, something crazy will happen, but I will just say this: they won't get swept. And if I was, leaning on to tell you which game that'll be, it'll be Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think that I got the Cubs winning the Shota 1. That's my prayer. This is going to be a rough. I don't even want to think about the Hendricks start at Dodger Stadium. That has me extremely nervous. As far as the Bobby Miller game, they hit him pretty good before. That could be one too, Dustin. I just don't know what Jordan Wicks is going to do, but I'm going to go. The Cubs take 1 out of 3, and I like the Shota start, but if they can win that Shota start, see what happens for game 3. Maybe we might be pleasantly surprised. They did it against the Dodgers once before.
Well, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram. Of course, we're on Twitter. You email us at flythew670@gmail.com, and you can watch us, that's right, by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, good luck with the late nights, and let's see if the Cubs can make something magical happen.
Get a couple pots of coffee, get the Red Bull ready for the morning, because we're going to sit there and cheer on these Cubs and hope for some baseball magic. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!